Revive your authentic self because the authentic self is there. It just needs some revitalization because it's under a whole bunch of stuff, right? Revive your authentic self. And we want to map out the vision that we know is for you. And only you know it. We can't give it to you, but you need to open up a little bit. And that's what you're going to do at the summit.
Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a Her C-Suite radio podcast. I'm Natalie Benamou, the host of this show and also the founder of Her C-Suite, where we help women meet, engage, and thrive in meaningful ways inside a powerful network community. And we have an app to make it easy for women to connect and meet through our masterminds and our private connect circles where entrepreneurs are hosting their own businesses in our community. I know that you will get a lot out of our community because we have designed a special circle just for you. That's right, for our listeners. Women Leaders on the Move is a new circle that we are launching so you can have access to amazing guests that have been on our show, as well as office hours with me. Check it all out at hercsuite.com. I'm really excited to introduce you to my guest today, Diana Patton. Diana Patton is the CEO of Rise with Diana and the All Rise Live Global Summit. We talk about that because it is coming very fast in October, and we have a collaboration where we are sponsoring this summit, and she is coming to our summit in conference, Thrive in 2025, in June. It is an amazing collaboration and partnership. Diana Patton is the CEO and founder of the Rise with Diana Consultancy, the All Rise Live Global Summit, and the Rise Advocates Academy, where she helps corporate women to speak up and advocate for themselves, to be seen, heard, and valued for their greatest work so they get promoted and paid their worth. Diana's experiences as a former civil rights attorney, corporate executive, and the hundreds of women she's helped provide the expertise to equip corporate women and the organizations they work for to be more inclusive of the people that represent the customers and clients they serve. We talk in detail about her background, about how women can level up their experience in their review process and more. So let's get started with this conversation now. Diana, I am so excited to welcome you to Women Leaders on the Move. Thanks for being on the show.
I'm so excited. I'm talk about on the move. Let's go.
Let's
Let's
go.
go.
I
I'm
know we were
excited.
just saying that. Let's just go. We're going to
Yeah.
go. So I am so excited for our audience to hear about you. And I always start with this question because I've had the benefit of talking with you and we're doing some really fun things together. But for our listeners who this is the first time they're meeting you, tell a little bit about the arc of your career. It's so interesting. And then what brings us to this moment today.
What brings us to this moment today is that I finally figured it out. It's like I've been on a journey. And ladies, do not, and I repeat, do not settle or give up. This has been a lifetime journey. I was born into a women's group. I have 5 older sisters. And so I'm number 6. And so I like to say that I've been an advocate my entire life for justice and equity, simply because I was born with a white father and a Black mom in the 60s. We can close up the chapter right there because that was very interesting. 2 months after Martin Luther King was killed, I came on the scene. And really, it was just a very dark time. My father was abusive. And what I learned from our childhood was my sisters just weren't seen, heard, and valued. I just happened to have a front row seat to understand, but why do we have to do it that way? Why do we have to do it this way? And so I feel like nothing has really changed with that, except for the fact that I knew I needed to heal. I knew I needed to come to an understanding of who Diana was and what my specific mission was. And so this is a lifetime, Natalie, of really learning Diana and my unique footprint, because we all have one. But sometimes our childhood, our trauma, which I had a lot of that, can get in the way of us clearly knowing who we are and one thing I knew for sure was I had to become an attorney, which I am, civil rights attorney. I don't practice now, but I spent a lot of time doing that in corporate America. And I had to endure a lot of trials, tribulations, kind of trauma. A lot of women can experience this, but what I really knew was my childhood had a deep impact on that. And so, what brings us here today is now I'm living my life like it's golden, and I'm helping women speak up and advocate for themselves, really understanding what it takes to go into the fire and really close that gap, right? Not just think about closing it, but to really close it through my company, through the academy, through the summits that we do, all the above. That's a snapshot version. I wrote about it all in my book, Inspiration in My Shoes, for your listeners to really learn a little bit more of the story, but it's pretty intense. There are some trigger warnings in there, but just to give you that snapshot.
So many things are coming to mind. And one thing is that you left your career that you were doing. So you talked about, your career as an attorney, and now you're doing impact and such a powerful thing for women. I'd love for you to talk about that transition, because I think,
Yes.
especially in what I do with her C-suite, women are at that moment and they make that decision of when is that right time. We talked about this, but the doors closed, the windows open, and it's up to us to fly through. And sometimes it can be so hard to fly through, but you have some faith that there is the sun beyond those windows. How'd you know that the sun was there for you, that you were going to fly into that beautiful
Listen,
sky?
preach a word, Natalie. Come on now. Listen, I want to know. Maya Angelou said, "This is why the caged birds sing."
Oh, yes.
Don't you
My favorite.
understand that
Yes.
you are free, sis? That you can go, but see what happens, what in just like keeps us trapped is us.
Yes.
It's this idea we bought into. I gotta do that. Who
Mhm.
said? And what, why do you keep rehearsing the worst case scenario? And listen, I'm just gonna say, I am a revived
Yes.
I am a revived sister. Okay. Listen, I have come on the other side. So listen, we're gonna have a conversation, Natalie, with our women who are out here struggling. Listen, I see you. I understand it's hard because sometimes we pay too much attention to what other people have to perceive about us. And we're living in a matrix. We live in the Matrix movie. And I get it. What made me go, what? Is because I feel like I bought into the dream. Gloria Steinem is from my hometown.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yes, girl, she's from Toledo. And so you want to talk about, I was like, I put on the backpack of, I'm going to go do the thing, right? I'm going to get my law degree. I'm going to be attorney. I am going to change some laws. I listen, I feel all that because I came through that movement. I'm not going to let my ancestors down. I am not doing any of that, right? Because sometimes we put on the weight of everything. But what got me was I was working in corporate, and the chief legal officer asked me to lead the United Way movement at the company, right? Every big companies usually have like a United Way kind of campaign. He said, Diane, I want you to lead it. And I said, okay. I'd only been on the job for 8 months. And at the time I was negotiating contracts. And he asked me, Diana, what's your story? I go, what you mean? What's my story? Because I was in hiding. I didn't want anyone to know. They weren't going to crack that shield that we often put up to not letting anyone see us. Even though we want people to see us, we got a big shield in front of us because we don't want anybody to see us. You see, we don't even know. So, anyways, he asked me, I said, what? Started leaning in. I said, what do you mean? He says, I want to know your real life story. Like, what made you who you are? I ain't gonna lie. I started sweating. I started feeling heart palpitations. My hands were getting sweaty. I was like, okay, well, and just like you asking me these questions, I said, it was hard, really, really difficult. My brother tried to kill my mom when I was in law school. And I was doing a really good job of hiding from my past. Just saying that publicly for the first time with him was, I can't believe I said that because I was ashamed. I was still hurting. I really didn't want anybody to know. I never got therapy. And I felt also that when my brother got out of jail, at the time when he was in jail, I was in law school, and my then boyfriend, now husband, he took him in. And as a result of that, we worked really, really hard to try and rehabilitate my brother. And really, a lot of things I talk about now in my work, I was trying to do with my brother. I just didn't know. I was just relying on instincts, my faith in God to really help my brother heal. And unfortunately, trigger warning for your listeners if you want to plug your ears, but as if I didn't give some triggers, but my brother took his life. After 8 months, he jumped off a bridge. And I felt, how did that happen? What did I not do? What could I have done better? We go through that when our loved ones take their lives and we examine. But then what that did for me, Natalie, it just shifted me. It got me to go, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing it this way? And then, like the alchemist, I went on a journey. I went on a journey. I went to a Tony Robbins conference. I said, who's Tony Robbins? I want to know what he do. And if anyone does not know who Tony Robbins is, I was like, I need to be Tony Robbins, right? And this is like right before I graduated from law school. But then I said, I got to be a lawyer. You know what I mean? Because I already signed up for it. And then I went into corporate doing all these things. And I was just like, I really want to know who I am at my core. That was my turning point story. And then I really haven't stopped. I feel like I got to get a law degree and a PhD and a master's in Diana. And so that's what I've been doing. That was my shift. And a lot of us need to really get to a point. Sometimes there's a whisper that's going on inside of you. It's saying things like, this ain't right. But then you keep brushing it off. And then you keep going, I don't think that I should be doing this. It seems right. I'm getting paid. I'm in this corner office. I got all these things. I got status, but something isn't right. And I just want to say, lean in. Listen to this podcast my girls got going on here, right? I got one too. Women like you and we're trying to help women go, but we don't have to do, we not gonna take it. No, we're not going to take it. Just really starting to learn that you don't have to take it anymore, but there are some shifts. It will be uncomfortable. There will be some changes. But to get to where your soul is calling you to go, you got to know that it's good to keep leaning into it because there's freedom on the other side of that journey.
Yes, that is so true because I think we let the past tell us what the future is going to be. And it's like, why don't you let the future tell the future what it's going to be? We have to pause. I meditate a lot and I get quiet a lot. And that's something that I've been doing since I left my corporate, career of 29 years. And it's hard. It's hard at first. There's like a cliff that you are standing on when you do that. When you leave, there's silence. If you're used to being in hustle bustle and you're with all these people and then you're finding yourself on your own and you're deciding that moment, there's that silence. And that's the time where we can really embrace what the messages are for us and what you're describing is those messages. And one of the things when we talked before that really struck me is that you're so knowing of who you are. And that is such a journey that we have to take. What can someone that's listening to this just do one little step? Because I feel like you just take one or two steps a day and then you get to that moment where you're like, I know exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, when you have those moments of what the hell? Why am I like that? Like right before you drive, right when you drive in the parking lot, maybe when you come home cooking dinner for your family, or you're cooking dinner for yourself, or you get ready to go to bed, or you're in the shower, or you're driving, you're listening to a podcast. My thought is in that moment, recognize you're in that moment. And then I would say, pause, get your phone out because you have it in your hand or somewhere near. Take your timer out and then put 2 minutes on, right? Just put 2 minutes on the timer. And then I want you to just breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. And then say, I'm listening in your head. And then I'm going to tell you, just as sure as I'm sitting here with this cute little shirt on, that's kind of hot, is you might start crying because you don't know what that feeling is. And I'm just going to say, sit with it. Because here's the thing, you didn't just drop into this earth. Like, you came down from a completely intelligent being. You've been dropped into your environment. You were dropped into your family. You couldn't have a lot of control over that. And there is a intelligence that's trying to connect with you, but you can't connect with it in chaos. In this book, it's called Let Your Life Speak by Parker Palmer. And I love this quote. He says, your soul only speaks its truth under quiet and welcoming conditions. Your soul is not going to allow you to be free until you connect with it. So, my sis, all I'm saying is, when you know that moment, now you have to start to set an intention. I heard what Natalie and Diana said. They said, I need to do something. And because I know I want to be over here, I want to do it. So you have to work with us now, and you have to go, okay, I know what she's talking about. Because I do have those moments that I just quickly try to go get a coffee, or I get on social media, or I get a drink of wine because I come home from work and I just need it. I'm just going to ask you in that moment to take your phone out, put 2 minutes on, and then I want you to breathe and pause and say, I'm here, I'm listening. That's what the first step I would do, Natalie. Because
So
you got to
good.
figure out you got to be willing to turn to it, not brush it away.
And you mentioned work and working on it. And some of the things that you do with women is you help them on this journey. What does that look like in your academy and your summit that you have coming up? What does that look like for women to dive deeper?
First of all, it's good when you listen to podcasts like your podcast, I have the Rise with Diana podcast, which you're going to be on my podcast too. It's listening. You have to lean into this type of ecosystem. And when you lean into this ecosystem, just like the law of attraction, you're going to be attracted to doing more. And so what we have are little breadcrumbs for you, baby girl. We got breadcrumbs. First, well, you want to do more, because we deal with corporate women. Then you might want to ask, why am I not getting promoted? So take my why am I not getting promoted quiz. It's like the toe in the water to kind of just start to assess thyself, right?
Mhm.
And it gives you an understanding of what can I do for me to help myself be seen. And so then from there, you could give me a call. We could set up a one-on-one. Then from there, you might say, I want to dive in further. I want to go to the academy, which is an 8-week class that we do online. That is, our next session is not until January, because we have a summit, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but it's an 8-week session where it's all online, and you can go ahead and start to educate thyself. And we go step by step by step, right? Because I always tell people, well, how long did it take you to get your bachelor's degree? How long did it take you to get your law degree? We are basically getting, like I said, a law degree in yourself through the 8-week course. Then from there, you might say, but I would love to check out what Diana does through her All Rise Live Global Summit, which is another entry point. Come, you can learn. We're going to revive your authentic self, because the authentic self is there. It just needs some revitalization because it's under a whole bunch of stuff, right? Revive your authentic self. And we want to map out the vision that we know is for you. And only you know it. We can't give it to you, but you need to open up a little bit. And that's what you're going to do at the summit. It's a 2-day summit in Chicago. This one, as a timestamp for this podcast, it's October 10th through the 11th, 2024 in Chicago. You can go to allriselivesummit.com. Then from there, after you graduate from the academy, you might say, but I really know that I can do great work in my organization bigger than what I see now. You can join the Ignite program, which takes everything you learned and we take it to action. We organize yourself. You are actively closing gaps for yourself and for others. And I'm just going to say, we need you now more than ever in our corporate spaces, in our communities, raising your flag of authenticity. We don't want you to be like Chat GPT. You are not a bot, okay? Listen, you don't want to sound like everybody else. You need to know you have agency. You are a brand, sis, and you have things to offer. But if you don't know thyself, you're going to shrink yourself when someone triggers you.
And I think the biggest thing is that the evolution of social media, you have to know to just turn it off and just walk away. And it is okay to do that. In fact, you should do that because
Yes.
it can really bring you down in ways that you don't even realize. And you need to surround yourself with the right people that are going to lift you up and make you see that you should not turn your light down. You should shine your light bright. That's one of the things I always say is, shine your light bright. The world needs you. And it's true
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
when we diminish our greatness, and this is one of the things for women, and I come from sales, so that's my background. And people say, well, don't be salesy and all this stuff. It's like, stop using those words and say you're denying people what your gift is, and they need it. They need it, whether you're advocating for someone at work or whether you're giving advice. If you are always worried about those things of, well, what are they going to think? What are they going to feel? You need to focus on what the outcome is. And another favorite quote, Maya Angelou's, my all-time favorite, is that people forget what you said and what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that's what you're talking about. First of all, you should be who you are and surround yourself with people who appreciate that. And if they don't, then it's time to make a shift because eclipsing your sun is not serving you, right? It's not.
I have to tell you this because I feel this see, the thing is, y'all, you have to know once you really claim your truth, and because you have to understand, not everybody gonna like you, boo. Not everybody is gonna like you. This is the other overcoming process, right? Because some of us have that disease to please, and it will derail you, or myself, the fighter fleer person, But you have to understand yourself and understand what those triggers are. But once you start declaring your truth and who you are, you start attracting people into your life. Like you, Natalie. Like I was like, okay, God, I know my work is out here, but my inner circle has to be a reflection of this truth, of this honor, of this light. Because when the light in me can honor the light in you, then what happens is you have these two brilliant, badass lights coming
Yeah,
together,
I love it.
and it just shines the whole universe, right?
Yes.
Shine your light. What we do, because I love, 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 love this scripture that I read often that says, iron sharpens iron. When iron comes together with other iron and it goes like this, it creates sparks, right? And it causes this energy to generate. And so that's the reason why, number one, I like to do the summit because we levitate when we go in that room. We can really clean up the whole world when women come together. And I'm not saying men can't do it too, they can. Absolutely. In fact, when you have light, you have no issue with anybody, and even people that you may not like. You will learn that you don't fight that because that's not your fight. You will gain justice, but you will do it in a way that brings around the greater good. That, my friends, is the real secret. Iron sharpens iron, and it allows you, because When a noodle sharpens a noodle that ain't cooked, it just breaks. And when it's cooked, all it does is get all smooshy. And y'all just sit around and talk about stuff that don't matter, right? So who
Totally.
cares?
Totally.
I mean, so that's why I believe that once you start really claiming that for those women who are just feel stuck, once you start claiming the universe, and I will say, God will come meet you and say, I have someone I would like you to meet. And that's how I met you.
Yes. And, shout out to Jen Pasticus and Hope Mueller.
Jen
Yes, who we are going to be
and
doing.
Hope.
I love so I believe that there's this continuous ecosystem of limitless possibilities. That's what we're creating. So, one person introduces another person, and then it just starts this cascade of opportunities. And that's what we're talking about here. And I can't wait because I get to see you in person. I'm going to be at your conference.
Yes, you are.
So people should come and see both of us, first of all, and come to Chicago. So I'll have all the links for registration. If people come, what do you want them to walk away with?
Well, first of all, isn't it time that you come to a space and you walk away more with more than a selfie and a hashtag from the conference? And then some stuff that, let's keep it real, you're going to throw away, okay, in your little goodie bag. Some you might keep. You don't need 16 mugs. You don't need 18 bags that have your logos on it. What you need is hope, but you also need a plan of when you go back to your workplace and it gets difficult, what you're going to do. What vision do you have for yourself? What are the steps you're going to take when it does get hard? Who will you call? Not just says, okay, girl, I'm praying for you. No, who are you going to call when it gets really difficult? Who's your inner circle? You're going to walk away with a plan, right? You're going to feel inspired because otherwise, put it on a video, right? We want you to come into the space and feel good. There is going to be energy. For all my people who are wanting to come here, and if you don't like energy, you don't want to come to the summit, okay? If you don't want to create a little friction in your life, you don't want to come to the summit. Sis, we are in a revival. In a revival back from where I come from. When I come from, we didn't have any laws to help us. We didn't have anything. And my granny, who had an 8th grade education, who then, by the time she died in 98, was inducted into the Ohio Women's Hall of Fame. That's the kind of movement I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about a movement that would get people like my grandmama and a lot of people from around the world who didn't have the internet, who wound up in Washington, D.C., marching on Washington. You see what I'm saying? This is the kind of movement where you realize there's an activation, there's an unlocking inside of your spirit that says, oh my gosh, I have got to be around these people all the time, right? And so we want you to feel that when you come to Chicago, and we want you to leave with that. Take it back to your work, put it into your communities, and create a generational shift within your family. Because if not you, then who? If not now, then when? When's it going to happen? So I'm going to keep it real, Natalie. We only have like 75 seats. This is a very unique group of people coming together. They are literally vibrating to Chicago, right? We are vibrating to Chicago, and we're saying, what do we need to do? To me, it's like an old fashioned, I was born in, so like my grandmother was a civil rights warrior. So like I was born into this stuff when even outside of the crazy mayhem of my childhood, here I had this very amazing grandmother, right? And I had an amazing like lineage that I wanted to learn more about. That's what you're going to get when you come to Chicago, a clear vision plan. And I'm writing a book for your listeners. It's called Do Your Greatest Work at Work Now. Because I'm tired of people saying that they have to leave work to feel good. I want you to know that the time is now. You can do it right now to make your life the greatest work. You are the greatest work. It is you that is the most important element. If you weren't here, we could not be who. There's something inside of you that is so beautiful, that is the solution, not the problem, to whatever you're facing. And so, Natalie, I think that with you, Jen and Hope and all these amazing women like Mary Ann Koronic, she is from Wintrust. She is the CEO of Wintrust. We have Sharon Shee, who's going to be talking about a beautiful story. We have Nora Abukaram and Bria Michaelagic. We have Deborah Porter, all these beautiful women who are doing so amazing things so you can feel inspired, but you will walk away with a plan.
I cannot wait. And for people that want to find out more about you, Diana, where's the best place to find you?
Right now, go to allriselivesummit.com. There, you're going to learn about the summit.
So I will have all your links in our show notes for people after the summit. They'll find you. And I can't wait to see you in Chicago. This is going to be so amazing. Thank you, Diana, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending your time with us today. The conference that I'm going to be attending with Diana in October, you'll get all the notes on the All Rise Summit in the show notes, and I hope to see you there. I also want to give a shout out to Hope Mueller and Jen Pastikas, who are my collaborators and partners for this conference that we are attending, as well as Thrive in 25. Check out all the information. You can find it at hercsuite.com. If you found this episode helpful, I would be so grateful if you would rate and review the show and share it with a friend or colleague so she can feel uplifted. Keep shining your light bright. The world needs you.